Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay
This
Moore.
is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hi, this is Dee C Lee. You're watching the Break It Down show.
And now, the Break It Down show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
What an honor it is to have you on. Just for our viewers, Dee C Lee is a singer with a beautiful set of pipes that you probably were introduced to when she was in the Style Council. She's done so much more since then, and we're very, very happy to have you on the show.
It's so lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
What are you up to?
I'm actually, really good news. I've just finalised, I'm just about to sign to Acid Jazz Records for an album deal, and I'm in the middle of writing that album right now.
Terrific. Joining us as guest host, you can see down in the corner of the screen, is Matt Hoy. Matt, thanks for jumping in.
It's an honor. It's an honor to actually be here with the legendary Dee C Lee. You know I feel about Dee C Lee, but yeah, so pleased to be here, guys. Honestly, it's a pleasure. It really is.
You guys go way back.
I want to point out that I did not wear
today
to respect your doctorness.
No, you go for it, Dee.
I was going to say, I want to take these off. I was going to say, we haven't actually met as such, but we know of each other because we're on the same circuit, right?
Very similar, yeah. We're friends with Lee and all those kind of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how we know each other.
Yeah.
So Lee John we're talking about as well from Imagination.
Yes, of course, of Imagination, yeah.
That's how we first met, guys. We met, Lee John was doing a documentary called Flashback, I think it was. And it was all about pioneering black artists from the UK, from this, I think it was the 70s, 80s and 90s that have changed soul music within the UK. And obviously Dee was well in there with the company that was Beverly Knight and Dee, and there was Omar and Lee and Soul to Soul, and it just the list went on. It was amazing.
It really was. Amazing time. What happens with that? Do you know?
I think it's due out next year. I think he had a few investors, come through, but I think it's due out next year. But I've seen some of the footage of it, and it's an amazing journey of all these different artists.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
It will be fantastic once it's out. Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Yeah.
Well, let's go back and talk about your musical upbringing. Talk about early influences and how you sort of started your journey.
Well, for me, you're asking me? Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Sorry. not used to all these different screens. I don't know which one I'm looking at here. Musical journey. Okay, so basically, like most kids, you like music, growing up listening to music and stuff like that. But I discovered that I really wanted to be able to play an instrument, but I really couldn't. But I really could mimic them. I was very good at mimicking sounds. From there, started listening to music, obviously the usual story, mum and dad, listening to all the music in the 60s. Just listened to a lot of Diana Ross in the Supremes, and later on Diana Ross, Lady Sings the Blues, all that type of stuff. Then I got into a lot of jazz, Donald Byrd and people of that genre, as well as meeting people, English people, British people like myself, and got involved with the likes of Central Line. In fact, they were the first band to give me my first break. Singing with those guys.
Well, wasn't it Walking into Sunshine, Dee, that you...
In fact, it was Walking into Sunshine, but I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
What is that tune? I can't remember the tune. Is that something, Walking into Sunshine?
It's one of the most sampled songs, isn't it? The intro.
I think so. But I used to hang around the studio waiting to get a break. They were like, at some stage, they're definitely going to need a female vocalist. I'm just going to hang about, and we did, and we went from there. And I also, in those days, was hanging around the studio with the boys from Light of the World, always waiting for any excuse to get in there, maybe, fling a vocal down or two,
That's what it was like back in the day. It was
really funny. It was.
Everybody jump in when you can,
That's it. Everybody at different studios. It's always been a bit like that now. And it's funny because I was like that a bit with acid jazz back in the day. they were all friends, you know, very good friends
Yeah.
with Eddie Pillar. And I was always in the studio whenever there's something going on, Jamiroquai, or just in the background. Oh, Dee, what are you doing? All right, I just jump in and do a few PVs. I did some stuff with Mother Earth. But again, all friends, and you become friends. You know what musicians are like. You know what we're all like.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lovely vibe too. And we all appreciate each other. So it's always fab. I love being a musician.
Yeah.
So at what point was it when you did Central Line? Was it you left and then went straight into doing the Wham thing?
Yeah, well, no, not straight away, but Central Line gave me the first break, and then in between Central Line, I kept working with lots of different bands, you know, trying to make my own bands. We weren't really that good, but I kept being pulled aside and saying, well, you know, your band were a bit rubbish, but and your writing's not that good either, but we like your voice. And the writing's got a bit better since then, by the way. We like your voice. And the next thing I knew, I was working for EMI Publishing, just doing like a 9-to-5 singing job, you know, just singing for other songwriters who don't sing. So I was very happily bouncing along doing that job. Absolutely fabulous, earning some good money and making lots of really good connections with other writers and other musicians. And while I was in the process of doing that, I got introduced to Wham. The rest you know, or maybe you don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say I'm the biggest George fan in the world. So, you know, I think
it's
one of the reasons the boys asked me to come on today as well, to be fair with you.
Oh, excellent. Oh, excellent. Well, no, listen, you got good taste, you know. I was always really, really blown away by meeting those guys. I still see Andrew. I still see Andrew occasionally. We stay in contact. Shirley, it's funny because Shirley, our grown-up kids, they all hang out. So occasionally I get to say a little something via the, I sound like such an old granny, via the internet or whatever, or the text or the WhatsApp, say hi to those guys. But all still really good friends and stuff. And still feel really, really sad when I let myself think about George not being with us anymore. That really does break my heart. Desperately breaks my heart. But anyway, I can't go on about that. So
can I just ask one more question before we jump? What, you know, because at that period it was only really for the public. It was 2 songs, wasn't it? It was like Young Guns and Club Tropicana that was the main feature that you were in,
and Bad Boys.
And Bad Boys, sorry, yeah. But
yeah,
at that point when you left, that was kind of when they were just about to. Was it yourself that kind of made that break yourself? Like, I'm going to want to do my own thing, or because that must have been a big decision.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And in fact, well, don't forget, I had started off as a singer, and I was totally blown away and had the best time. And got my first taste of pop stardom, if you like, working with those guys. So for myself, I could see what I wanted from that business or not. But as obviously, like most things, as they became a lot more popular, which was the whole point, they were going off. You could see first it was like pulling the girls out a bit, and then it was the boys, and then eventually George went solo. So everything was a natural progression. And I thought if I stayed too much longer, it could be like the sort of a musical version of being a Bond girl. You know, you kind of get typecast. You won't get any other work again if you don't jump out and do your own stuff. So that's what I had to do. And at first, George was a little upset with me, but after a little while, he totally understood, because this thing was his baby. You know, this was all about him, and that's how it had to be. And sometimes, you know, people just have to kind of move on. You know, so that's what happened. So yeah, but they were good days. Really, really good days.
Best days ever.
Do you know that I did Top of the Pops with both Wham and the Style Council once?
Really?
Yeah, it was actually there's a quiz thing on Sky. There was a quiz thing. It was called what's it called now? A VIP something with the Style Council, and it's a bit of a half-hour quiz show. I think it was a pre-thing before the screening of the actual documentary, and I got reminded that Bad Boys and the Shout to the not Shout to the Top. Sorry, what was the first Style Council track I did? Caught myself out.
Was it The Walls Came Tumbling?
No, it'll come to me in a minute. Oh dear, I can see the video. Money go round. That was it. I just visualized myself in the black and white video. looking all moody and what I thought was sexy, but I just look like I've got the amp. But anyway, so that was what we did. And yeah, that's a funny little fun fact. And I remember that, and that was quite exciting. I had 2 dressing rooms. Apart from the fact that I was already blown away by being on Top of the Pops in the first place, I was on twice. It was fabulous.
Oh, was this on the same episode?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I had 2 dressing rooms.
No way. There's got to be nobody else that's ever done that.
I don't know, but it's a definite thing. It's a definite thing. You check it out.
Yeah, that's serious. I mean, you had to do a costume change in a different dressing room. You had to keep your costume separated so you'd be in the right one.
I had to keep running from different dressing rooms to the other one to be there for the different roll calls, you know, when they called you. And it was all very funny and very exciting.
That's superstar stuff.
I know, and I had no idea. I was just taking it in my stride at the time, you know, because you see, I was sessioning. So I considered myself a session session singer with Wham, and I was also sessioning at that time with the Style Council, because it was always a session thing, even though we looked like it was a setup with Wham. Wham was always very much George and Andrew, and Shirley and I were friends, but also like a little accessory. I mean, it looked good. I think it was a good look, and it worked. Very
fabulous look.
And I think also George, I was always really aware that George was the first person that was insistent on, I think, on maybe having a black girl in it, just to, because it was those times, and he meant what he said, the way we were. So it was a very London thing to be very mixed and stuff like that. So I know that was a kind of it wasn't really a big deal for us, but when I look back, I see that was quite,
very astute, yeah.
He was the Sly Stone of 80s London.
He really was. He really was. He was such a
in a lot of ways, really, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I remember what was really funny, the very, very early days, because Andrew and Shirley were dating, they actually were dating. George and I said that we were dating as well. So it made good pop. It made good pop nonsense to chat about.
Magazine fodder.
Exactly. That kind of stuff. So that's what was happening.
You know what I'm having a lot of fun with in this conversation with you is the chronology of your story, of course, but your little side comments. You love being a musician, and all of these things that you just kind of pop off in between sentences. I think they're the things that really make you colorful and interesting. I just saw this meme that it had a big bubble that was things that make you a great musician, and then a smaller sub bubble that said things that make you a great human being. Oh. And they were things like humility and love and spreading joy and stuff like that. And then practice and the musician things. But one of the things that was that included in both bubbles, the human being bubble and the musician bubble, was not clapping on 1 and 3. So I'm just tossing that in there.
I just go instinctively for anything. So sometimes if I was to start clapping in between the 1 and 3, you just have to deal with that.
So as your songwriting has gotten better, I mean, when you hung around studios just because you had the pipes to join in on anything, and you thought, well, somebody's going to need a singer, I'm just going to hang around here. Do you find making music as collaborative now as it was back then, now that everybody has home studios and stuff, and there are a lot less creative process? The fine tuning happens in the big studios, but
of course. Well, that's a really interesting question, because not obviously, for quite a while. Sorry, I'm wriggling it back, so I'm trying to hold this with one hand. You said that's working. But for quite a while, I hadn't been making any music at all. I just I was a little disillusioned. Life takes over a little bit. I had other stuff going on, blah blah blah, as we all do. And then I discovered that everybody was just making music themselves, in their bedroom, in the computer. I can't work like that. I kind of really do need to be with people. I need to be in the same room, in the same studio, in the same bar, if we're hanging, and a vibe starts. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how it happens. Or what I find I do now is, if the people I'm working with, they got like a vibe for like a backing track, I do feel things, backing track and a little bit of a chorus maybe if they want, but sometimes just a backing track. And then what I do is I vocal melody sections of the song. I vocal melody what I want to be the verse, the chorus, middle eights, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come back to it and write to that vocal melody as much as you possibly can to fit with it. And then along the way, there's tweaking of lyrics, tweaking of melodies, etc., etc. I can't play or can't even operate this damn this thing that we're doing now. So I have a real problem with computers and stuff. I just don't. I'm a very visual righty person, but buttons and things, they just confuse me, and I always press the wrong thing, lose the vibe, get in a pickle, want to smash everything up, and not really a good look. So for me it's much easier to be, that's the way I like to collaborate when I work with people. And then if we start off, if it's new, we start off with a backing track with a bit of a vibe. We, like I said, I take the backing track, we listen, we get a little thing, and then we go together into the studio and put the demo vibe down and see what happens.
So See the Day, how did that come about? How did all that start?
Now, after everything I just said, that's very interesting again, because after everything I just said, See the Day was an absolute one-off. I used to, and I wrote it when I was very young. In fact, it was one of 4 songs I took to CBS to try to show them, my range of vocals, etc. So I took the ballad was See the Day. I had an uppy thing called Selena Wawa, which eventually became the first single I ever put out. But it was very poppy, very Bananarama-ish at that time. And 2 other songs I can't remember now. And the only thing that they didn't like was See the Day. They really weren't into that at all. And but I was convinced, I had the whole melody. I had the lyrics. I had the melody. It was ever so simple, but it just came to me. It literally just came to me in a dream or something. I literally woke up one day and wrote it in like 2 seconds. It's the only thing I've totally written myself. For somebody who doesn't even read or write music, that's pretty good, right? Because
it is an incredible tune. It really is. I mean, the melody and the structure of it is just sublime. So, and then
thank
also
you. Well, I had to sing all that to my people, and they just got it straight away.
A cappella.
I sung them I just sung the thing, the lyrics, when you look at me, and when I got to the other bit, the vocals already initiate what's going to happen with the strings anyway, but I sung it to them, and I always remember sitting in a studio with a fully fledged orchestra. I can't speak. Orchestra, sorry, and having these guys, me singing it to them, going. Da, 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 singing all this to them, and they're just playing it. I was so blown away. It was fabulous. It was like, oh my God, these guys are fabulous. And they made everything that I was hearing. They were making it come true, and it was like and that's what I feel like when I work with other people anyway, because I have these ideas in my head, but until I actually get them down, I don't really know what they sound like. They all sound fabulous in my head. But then there's also in my head, there's like backing vocals, there's a lead vocal, there's guitars, there's and I'm trying to pin something down to start with and take it from there. So am I wriggling this camera around a bit? I am, aren't I? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to, the one thing I wanted to ask though, because you say that's the one song that you did completely on your own that way. When it was finished and it was released, did it sound how you thought it would in your head when you wrote it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So every time, even when I listen to it now, I sort of blow myself away. But that was a one-off. Everything else that I've ever done has to be a co-write, because I don't play anything.
Right.
So it's a little bit frustrating.
So when you began,
I'm curious when you're.
Go ahead, Pete.
When you're in your relationship with Paul and you're in the band together, he's this fountain of songs and ideas. And, what is that like? I mean, you guys, even before you become, this romantically involved couple, there's not much room for artistic expression in terms of writing songs. How do you learn from it? Tell us what that's like, because you have this expression, but you're also in this great band. You're like, I don't want to screw this up. This is such a good thing. What is that like?
Well, to be fair, it was actually really easy because apart from Paul wanting any opinions in regards to what was happening BV wise and stuff like that, he'd tell me what he wants. I would do the very best I could. Most of the time he was happy with that. If he wasn't, he would tell me, we'd remedy it. But I didn't really have much to do with the writing as such. You know what I'm saying? Because again, you know, I was a session singer originally, just stayed and stayed and stayed with this band, with this great band, the Style Council. So I think that's it. Does that answer what you were asking me?
Yeah, and I guess like as your mature writing self, like what do you look back and what did you bring from that then? I mean, you have this person who's this genius songwriter, you learn things. What do you have from that relationship now in terms of your ability to create? Even though you don't play music, you also had a fantastic partner in this.
Yes. So, well, when we were together, we would listen. Paul would introduce me to so much different music, stuff that I'd never ever heard of for somebody who listens to a lot of music, and I think I used to do the same. Paul's writing is something. The way he writes is, well, it's just of a different standard. You know, I'm more of Paul is an absolute. You know, I'm trying to think of a complimentary word to say he's the top of his game in regards to songwriting. He always has been, and it's just got better and better. He never goes backwards. He always goes forward. But I personally, even though I listen and I could never take that on because I think that's just a gift that you have. My thing was always voice first. I was blessed with, I'm very lucky to have the voice, and the writing became along as a necessity because I have quite a stylized voice, and I like to sing things. When I started, you know, having the freedom to be a solo artist, I wanted to sing what I wanted to sing. Therefore, I have to co-write because, you know, not all the time. Having said that, no, not all the time, because there are a couple of really good writers, and I've often taken a straight up cover. If it works for me and I feel it and I can make that work, that's exactly what I would do. So totally different writing skills or mindsets, or, you know, whichever way you want to look at it, you know, from Paul and I. But what I did, I wouldn't say I learned anything, if you know what I'm saying, but I was just very honoured to watch that process sometimes. And I mean, he could really knock them out. I just used to think, I just like, what? I'm spending the whole day up and down, wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and he's just like, so, you know, it is his own very special gift. A very special gift he has.
I'm curious too, working off of that idea and everything, because of Paul's exploration of music, you guys cover a lot of genres, and it's like, you can't really define the Style Council's work or Paul's work as a career. So that must make you comfortable with a lot of different genres yourself. I mean, there are things that I was reading through all this, like synth ballad, never heard the term before. So John and I were talking pre-show, like one of the questions I'm curious about is what is the genre that's furthest from your comfort zone, but still within the circle? Like I can pull that off. Like how far can you go?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I've always liked to think of myself. I listen and have listened to a lot of jazz all the time. And after I had somebody like Donald Byrd say to me that I remind him of the girls back in the day who we used to work with. And that's actually where I got my vocal vibes. If you listen to things like Wham Parade and I'm trying to think of some other tracks off the top of my head right now, but some early Donald Byrd where he uses a lot of female vocals. Those type of vocalists were the sort of things that I would, and people like Kenny Burke, the female vocalists that he uses, those type of styles of singing, I kind of adapted a little bit, but then just put my own little flavour on top. But I sort of got lost in the question there now because I'm really thinking. Sorry, I just got carried away there. Yeah, it's jazz. Jazz is something that I'd like to think I could take on, and I like to listen to it because I do find it quite challenging, and it's good for the old vocal acrobatics and just good to warm up. It's good to warm up with jazz.
Do you feel like your voice has changed? I mean, obviously everybody's voice changes over the years because, you know, I'm a singer as well. We both, you know, you can hear it yourself change over the years. Are you more happy with it now? Or
do you know what? I think
ago?
I am. Yeah. Do you know what? I really do think I am. I'm definitely a lot deeper, a lot huskier. But I've got a range, but it's just my own range. Do you know what I mean? I can still hit notes that I want to hit. I can't go as high as See the Day, but I could hit that tune again, but it'd have to be in a slightly different range.
Don't bring that out on me, because you know I'm going to make you.
No, I think my range hasn't changed, and if anything, I'm hoping it's got a little better. It's definitely got a little better.
Does it feel like you've kind of fallen into your own vibe? You know, you can go with it like in different areas more comfortably. Definitely.
I could definitely take my vocals to work with almost any kind of genre, as long as I felt it and it suited.
Yeah,
absolutely. I get that.
You know, vocal range though is often described and people hear when they hear you say things about your vocal range. Like, I can sing as low as this note and as high as this note. But the other side of range is I'm so much better at feel now that I've matured as an artist, as a musician, as a person. You know, you have some life experience, and it just allows you to dig deeper in the groove. Is that true?
Totally agree with you. Totally. There's a difference to the way I am now as a vocalist than the way I was when I was like a lot younger. And that was good. That was a good time, and it was a good time vocally and all the rest of it. And then after a while, I just started to notice that my voice was getting a bit deeper, and I wasn't sure if I was ever going to be in a situation where I could hit any of those high notes. I can, but it's with feeling, and it's in a different way. Do you understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I quite like it.
I think that's what you're talking about. I think as any singer develops over the years, I've been doing it for such an amount of time. There's songs that you write and sing, like, I don't know, say 20 years ago, and if you still perform now, because your vocals have changed, it's a case of adapting to that song and making it still hit the note, but doing it in your own way 20 years later.
Exactly. And I tell you what, I am definitely, I hope I don't make this claim and then don't back it up, but I definitely have this feeling that the first chance I get, I want to play around with See the Day, maybe for a live set, and maybe even salsa it up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
That could be interesting, right?
There's a world exclusive right there.
Yeah.
Now, I might. Yeah. Listen, you can hold me to that, because I've been wanting to play back with that track for so long, and just put a different spin on it. I'm not necessarily to put it out because I love the way it is, but
I might be able to help you out with that.
What a little salsa vibe?
I might be able to help you out with that, darling.
We'll talk.
Yes, I like that this conversation is developing right now. There were two things I was going to say about See the Day, because, the track has aged a little bit, but, not in a way that, it wasn't a trendy track to begin with.
Exactly.
But, I think that the expansion of your own feel, I imagine if you had written it today, you wouldn't feel it that way. You'd probably use fewer notes, and you'd probably take us further into our emotions with fewer notes.
You think?
I think so. I know that a lot of us, as we continue on, I know a lot of chop hounds, and I know some singers who had, tremendous range, and it feels like you get better at just singing that one note that really, really matters in that spot. And
very true.
Yeah.
And like you say, the feeling that you really can convey a lot of what you're feeling just with very, very simple notes. And it's the sounds as well. It's the sounds, certain sounds that you make. There's I deliberately write, I'm not going to tell you what they are because you'll be picking them out, but I deliberately write some songs with certain words a lot, because when I sing them, they sound nice. They just sound nice. And sometimes I actually have to write songs around some words because the words sound nice in that note or in that melody, and just that word fits this freaking melody. So then you've got to, I've got to get a a vibe around this word. Yeah, it's all, but to me that's more important because, you know, I just know that that's, you know, that's that little thing that I have and I can, that's my, definitely.
It's like your tag, graffiti tag, isn't it? It's that kind of vocally.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's that?
It's like a vocal graffiti tag. It's your
yeah,
signature.
I like
your
that.
swirl at the end of something.
I like
or
that.
your,
Yeah.
the way you dot your eyes with a heart.
Yeah.
How did you know, John?
I think, you know, and to piggyback on Pete's question, I'm now going to say how, you know, to put a salsa vibe on something, or to sing something as a bossa nova, or to just reach out into all of those different kinds of, you know, those different kinds of feelings that we sort of didn't really get as kids. There are a lot of feels that you don't just grow up with, and then you don't really identify with them until later. And since your songwriting has gotten better, would you say that you are that your songwriting and your singing has developed in tandem, like they feed each other?
That's a good question. No, I think the voice has got better but the writing I haven't done for a little while, but
Okay.
I can feel very slowly that I'm kind of getting my little groove back, as it were. It is early days. These last couple of weeks, I've literally just about completed the ideas for 2 songs that I've already worked on. I've got about another 3 or 4 that I want to work on and to bring to the table to work out what we're going to put on the album, that sort of thing. But yeah, I would say that my vocal is definitely, I know that's got better. The writing, well, it's coming along, but that, you know, that's the sort of thing I should have kept up. But, you know, sometimes in life, again, as I was saying, I kind of just got out of the groove of making music, kind of didn't even want to do it for a little while, just for some personal reasons. But now that I'm sort of back, I definitely recognize that the vocals are picked up, and I'm a little insecure about the lyrics, but, you know, we're getting there. We're getting there.
You know, now that we've experienced what pandemic is like, and the creative process has kind of changed and shifted because of the pandemic. How comfortable are you with the concept of, I know you're not a technical button pusher kind of person, but if let's say we were talking about a song and I said, hey, let me put down some backing tracks and then let me send it to you and you live with it for a few days and then you just put something on it. How do you feel about that process for you?
But that's how I work. I mean, at the moment, my guys, they send me like backing tracks. The easiest format for me, this is so embarrassing to admit, but the easiest format for me to begin with is to get it sent to me as an email. It's the easiest way that I know how to do it. And start interfering with all those other things, and it always goes horribly wrong for me. God knows why, but it does. But that's how I kind of work anyway. I normally get the backing track, live with it for a bit, and if I feel something, I'll put something there. And if I haven't even got lyrics already, the first thing I would do is give you the vocal melody, where the verse is, where the chorus is, where the middle 8 is, or where I see it or where I feel it. Yeah. Or in fact, where the song leads me to in the first place. And so that's what I would do. And if you like that vibe, then I'd take it back and would try and get some lyrics to that. That's how I would do.
I was hoping you would say that because I was really asking that question for Matt.
You know, John, as you said it, I'm so glad you asked.
I love writing with different people. Matt, you could do that. If you got some vibes and some backing tracks, you could always send them on. And
you know I'll do that. You know I will.
Cool.
Done.
Yeah.
Done and dusted. Done and dusted.
Can I just ask you, Dee? You know, back in the day, you had this kind of style set in mind, like we see today, and the vibe you wanted to achieve. How is your musical career and your interest in music and the styles that you listen to? How has that changed for you over the years, and with what you write now? How would that sit with you?
I'll be honest with you, I don't think anything's changed that much at all for me musically. And if anything, which I don't mean to sound ignorant, but I mean, I'm sure there are one or two sort of up and coming artists that are really fabulous, but I don't seem to know how to get to that because I can't listen to all of it. You know, I have to, just because of who I am and what I do. And, you know, I'm not one of the, I wouldn't say that I can't adapt, because of course I can adapt, but what inspires me is always what the stuff I listen to. And that's anything from 70s sort of, you know, like that soft rock stuff, you know, like Eagles, Santana. I like those kind of bands. I like Fleetwood Mac. I like Kate Bush. And then I like a load of jazz. I like a lot of that good stuff. I like a lot of jazz funk. I like old school soul, Bobby Womack, people like that. I like some of the new, I like old school hip hop, you know, early 90s, late 80s, all that type of hip hop, all those gurus, all those kind of that type, all around that time. I loved all of that. And there is the latest, the newest band that I've heard that I can remember off the top of my head, and I really like them. They're called Blue Lab Beats. Ever heard of these guys?
No.
Well, one of the kids is the son of Kwame from the band The Influence. Remember those guys?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm going to try and track them down, but not now, because I've just got to do this thing. But once I've got this album, you know, this project underway, I'm always looking at other projects to do some writing and stuff like that. And those guys I like. You should maybe check them out. They're pretty cool. Yeah, and they're who I like for youngsters. They are very young, but they've got like an old feel to their stuff.
Yeah. And this is where you would fall in hand with acid jazz, because I didn't realise they were still going. You know,
acid
I mean,
jazz.
That's iconic in itself from the 90s with Jamiroquai and Corduroy and all those.
That's right. And they were all friends of mine, but you know, they're all still in business. After the documentary, I bumped into the guys, and they were like, "You haven't retired, have you?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to retire." I thought I did, but I don't. So they were like, "Well, we have to do something about that," and here we are. And it's happening. So I'm ever so excited. I'm really excited to be making music again. Really am. And any day now, I'm going to be a grandma. My kid's about to have a kid. So, yay!
Oh wow! Congratulations!
Thank you. So yeah, the times are really.
You're going to be Nan Dee.
So what's that?
I said you'll become Nan Dee. My Nan Dee.
No, Nan is good. See, Nana Dee already. Nana Dee or Mamacita. I like that. Mamacita.
Why? And Matt, I want you to follow up with your answer. I know we've asked you before, but it might change. Why are British folks so damn good at soul and R&B singing? Where did that come from?
Well, I'll let Dee answer that, because she's got more. Well, she's just far better than me, and it's all.
I don't know about that, honey, but
no. Let me ask that question slightly differently.
Okay.
What I think the appreciation I have for British soul music is that you seem to find the things about American soul that are missing.
I had this conversation with somebody quite a few times over the years, and just recently, and it was always the fact that the British kids, or when I was a kid that time, and even so, maybe even now, especially in the old days, there was all this soul. Because I mean, a lot of those artists, people like Roy Ayers and people like that, they weren't really that massive in their own country, but they were like really massive over here and in Europe, and a lot of artists like that, you know. So I don't know. We just seem to appreciate them more. I don't know. That's an odd one. Matt, you take over, mate. Take over.
I tell you what I do think is especially with, you know, the time and period that the DSLs and everything and the whole of London started doing R&B and soul music. There was definitely, because of the closeness and the urban side of music, the black scene in London, because America's so vast. London was a lot closer knit community. And like, you had Omar, you had Lee John, you had Dee C Lee, you had, you know, Soul to Soul, you had Jazzy Beaker. That kind of whole urban sound was being developed as they were growing up through the 70s and 80s. And I think it kind of all exploded at the same time. And it was such a vibe to be in and around that. It was a, you know, a privilege to be around.
Oh, they were great times. I mean, and people in those days, music connected everybody. It totally just, you know, you had nothing in common with most people. most of the time. And then you'd all be together every so many nights a week at various clubs listening to the same music or the same parties, from the blues parties. It's funny because the only music I've never actually vocalized is reggae, even though I've liked reggae and I still like all the dub stuff and all the rest of it. But it's not somewhere I went vocally, because the riffs they're not very challenging. They're quite simple, and so you can get nice backing vocals, and I could do something like that, but nothing that would actually stand out as far as I know. And it's reggae, even though it's one of my it's a music that I like, it's just not something that I picked up on as a vocalist, you know, as you do. I mean, I start as a vocalist. I mean, I was listening to all sorts of music, jazz, this, that, and the other, and even jazz. But I think I started really having a thing. My first real inkling of what I really wanted to sound like was listening to Diana Ross, Lady Sings the Blues.
Oh God, yeah.
So from that's when I wanted to start singing, and that was classy. It was, I suppose, it was considered soul stroke jazz, but that was where I wanted to go. Things where there's space for a vocal to be, and if there's a backing vocal, it's quite busy. So there's a lot of your own vocal in it. I just love vocalists, but as a vocalist, I don't listen deliberately to a lot of female artists, and that's not because they're not great, because a lot of them are absolutely fabulous. They really are. But if I listen to too many other female artists, I start mimicking, and it's really annoying. So I listen to a lot of male vocalists. I listen to them because if I mimic them, I ain't going to sound like them.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I get what you mean. And I think the thing with R&B vocals, like you said, it's like there's a lot of space within R&B, and there's a lot of room for you to kind of the emotion side of things is expressed.
Exactly. And that's why I was never much of a reggae singer, because it's all, it's always got, it's got its vibe. It's got this great vibe. But for me, it was always more to dance to than to actually perform to. Yeah, the rhythms.
The rhythm.
I've heard vocalists describe their vocal stylings as relating to a particular instrument. Like I know a guy who says, I listen to the trombone because it growls the way I growl, and it sort of takes ownership of the parts of the song that I do. What instrument is you?
As you were starting to answer, I was thinking that, because let me think now. Sometimes I think that I sing like lead guitar, like rhythm guitar. Okay. That seems to be one of the things. Obviously keyboards all the time, because with keyboards you hit the notes. I love with keyboards when we start with something, because just one note can evoke a vibe, so I think keyboard stroke lead guitar, the vocals are the things that I would do or strive to.
You're definitely out front.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you say to that question, Matt?
It's an awkward one. I mean, I've never even really thought about it until you just asked that question. But I think when you sing, there's an instrument in your mind that you see when you vocalize what you're trying to sing. And mine would have to be a piano, a grand piano.
Yeah. Yeah,
because it's all to do with the variation of notes and kind of getting what I need to get in the emotion. And the piano is so emotional; it kind of fits with the lyrics and the story. I agree. So it probably would be a piano.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
I mean, if you were talking about like See the Day, that's piano all day for me, because it's just pure emotion all the way through.
It's true. That's so true.
Well, the syllables in the song too are percussive, like a piano. Like you were hitting those notes.
Yeah, so that was it. You're right. So maybe not so much lead guitar. Maybe that's just me would like to be able to play that.
Well, in that song,
but keyboards definitely follow the keyboards as a vocalist. Yeah, defo.
Yeah. Okay.
Because See the Day is like a waltz, isn't it? It's like.
And it was all very unconscious. I know, just unconscious. The beat and everything. It just came to me.
Yes, so good.
Oh, thank you. I'm still very, very proud of that. But I'm really looking forward to coming up with some new stuff. And I'm writing with some really fabulous people. Paul Barry being one of them, who's quite a prolific and very successful writer. And he's given me a couple of fabulous songs. One of them slightly Sade-esque, as most I can say. But we're really loving that one. Yeah.
Well, I can see the similarity vocally between you and Sade. That's, you
Yeah,
know, as you
sure.
were saying now, your voice is getting deeper.
Yeah, yeah. I've always liked Sade. Again, just very simple, but it's all about the notes. And if you know, it just all made sense and so very smooth, you know, incredibly smooth. And very, very old friend of mine back in the day as well. That girl. I haven't seen her in a damn long time, but I hope she starts making music again. I think a lot of us from those days. I think a lot, you know, I think it's our time to come back.
I mean, if there was ever a woman who kind of put a stamp on a style and a movement, it was definitely Sade.
Oh, she's fabulous. She's fabulous. I really liked her. Yeah.
How about as a writer, the way that you express love? Would you say that as you gain life experience, you get better at expressing love through song?
Don't know.
Or is that better through fresh eyes, the fresh eyes of a youngster?
I'm not sure. That's a really interesting question. That's a very deep question. I have to. Yeah. Do you know what? Let me think. Let me come back to it.
I'm already setting you up for part 2. I'm going to send you away with some things to think about, so that we already set you up for part 2. So far, just to recap. We've heard that there's some collaboration that's going to happen. Matt's going to write some things and throw some things by you. It sounds like you're going to pass them back and forth and maybe come up with some songs for us. And then now you're going to think of a few topics that we've started here, so that when you come back, we can talk more about them. We would love to just chart your progress in your comeback as a singer and a writer. You know, we would love to do that.
I would
just
love
check
to
in
share
with you
that
periodically.
I really would love to share that with you. And you have all information of Jill and everything, and she will definitely keep you in the loop.
Terrific.
And so that maybe the next time I see you, I'll be playing you some of the new stuff and all the rest of it.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Please. Yes, please.
Can we really briefly get into the documentary Long Hot Summers? That was so good, and I want people to know that it's out. It was such a I just loved watching it. And I know we were talking about the sophomore.
What did you think of the song at the end? What did you think of that impromptu number that we did at the end? Did you catch that?
I love. Before I answer that question, I want to say this. Today, in modern times, if the style council existed, you'd have a fantastic agreement with Bass for all of the penny loafers that you guys sold.
Say again? Sorry, you just broke up then.
You guys sold millions of penny loafers and never got a dime from Bass or anybody who make penny loafers.
Yeah, you guys would have a shoe deal.
That jam at the end was great. It was great.
Did you? I mean, and it was so good to work with the boys again. We had such a laugh doing that. And we didn't tell anybody we were going to do it until the last minute. And so that we were hoping that was a really nice surprise for the, for the fans, as it were. And so I'm glad that you liked that. And that was our little twist. That's our little impromptu version of It's a Deep Sea. Yeah, that was cute.
It was great though, because that song translates into middle age, right? And the way you guys delivered it, it was a little bit more reflective than the original version. It was fantastic.
Exactly. And again, it's what's made me, because making music now, I didn't think, that it could be. Well, it just seems to be. I mean, I haven't lost any interest or excitement for it at all. I did for a little while, but it wasn't necessarily the music. It was just my state of mind at that time, a few years back. But, as the circle of life goes round, it's all good. And I'm feeling really good again. And I'm so excited that the thought of making music again is really sort of keeping me very happy and keeping me out of mischief, which is a good thing.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Keeping you out of mischief. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I condone that. I would like for you to be in mischief. Mischief is good for songwriting.
That'll come after the album, and then that will help the second album. That's how it's going to go.
Yes, indeed. You know what? I want you to take a good look at my face right now, because I think you and I could be distant cousins.
Let's have a look. Let me put my glasses on. Hold on.
I think there's no way that 23andMe puts us together. But I just watched you laughing, and I was laughing at the same time. And I thought, you know what? I think Dee is my distant cousin. So while we may have no genealogical backup for that theory, I'm going to claim you anyway.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
You know what? I think that now that we're encouraging some collaboration between you and Matt, and that I should probably volunteer to take that track at some point in the process and put the drums on it.
Sounds good.
I'm just going to volunteer that.
Let's do it, boys.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We can go global.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, you've got time to get some vibes together for me because I'm a little bit inundated for the next 5 minutes, as it were. But start thinking of something and get it together. Because once I've done what I've done, I just want to keep working, and I just want to keep
off to
writing.
the races. Yeah.
Have you got any dates set, Dee, for the album releases, singles, anything like that?
Well, realistically, we've just signed and blah blah blah. So I would imagine that we'll probably want to be putting stuff out sometime next year. But the rest, I won't say any more than that because it is literally totally fresh. I'm writing frantically. Everybody's excited. I might go and meet them all next week for a drink and sign on the dotted line as well. But I better sign first before the drinking, and then and then get back in the studio. And between now and then, I mean, that's why I'm actually at home on a Friday night. Mind you, I'm normally at home on a Friday night these days. But just been writing. And I just stopped, put a little bit of lipstick on, and thought I'd come and talk to you guys.
You see, that's commitment. That is right there.
Yeah, baby.
I don't buy it. I don't think Nana D or Mamacita, either one of those fits the bill with I'm home on Friday night.
Yeah, I'm home. I'm home on Friday night, but not for good. Not for good. I've got to get these tracks done. So I'm just like staying I have to keep myself in a certain frame of mind.
Yeah.
Because these days, I mean, they say women can multitask, but I don't know. I'm letting the sisters down because I'm not very good at the multitasking. So therefore, I have to spend a lot of time just in the, in the vibe of what I'm working on. Just keep it on playing all the time, listening to it all the time, thinking about the lyrics, etc. But it's fun.
I've got to ask you, are you going to go out and play live with this as well?
Of course we are, babe. I can't wait. I can't wait to do. Nice. More than anything, I'm really looking forward to performing live. More than anything.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sorely missed as well. I think the last 18 months.
Listen, guys. Sorry, I've got a bit of a problem here. I've got the headphone in, but my phone's telling me that I'm going to run out of battery soon. I'm trying to see how much. Let me just see where the hell I am. I can't see.
No, we're good. We're good. I just You're good. I just want to say this. People who find the groove tell you to multitask. So you don't need to multitask.
That's right.
I know for me and Maya, thank you very much. I love it. You're welcome to come back anytime.
I really will. I'm going to hold you to that. And when there's a bit more going on, I'll let you know. And in the meantime, in regards to music and stuff, Matt, Pete has all the details for Jill. You can just send everything via her and we can take it from there.
I'm going to hook you up, babe. Yeah, we'll speak, don't we? We'll speak, babe.
Sounds really good.
Yeah. It's so good to see you again after so long as well.
Yeah. And listen, maybe we'll, by the time this documentary comes out, I'm hoping I might have seen you before then. But if not, we'll go together and have a drinky poo and hang out with these guys, yeah?
Sounds good to me, bud. Sounds good.
All right. And Pete, you now all the way over there in Orange County, is it?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, are you coming over to London at some stage when people are allowed to travel again? Would you be doing anything like that?
We are
desperate. What I'm trying to say is I hope you can make it to one of the shows. That'll be sometime next year.
Damn.
I'm signed, sealed, delivered. I'm coming.
Count us in.
On this too.
Good.
Yeah.
And you, lovely.
All right.
So,
I'm going to turn this.
Yeah. And just in case, look, if I suddenly just cut off, I promise it's not you guys. It's just this bloody thing's telling me I'm low on battery. So just in case, you can keep talking until I just go,
yeah.
He's gone.